guys, welcome back to my channel. I shouldn't say welcome back because no one knows who I am. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Morgan. I am a licensed cosmetologist and a professional makeup artist and a lover of theatrics. So a lot of you don't really know who I am and why I started in the beauty industry and kind of my background, so I figured it might be kind of fun to do a get ready with me while I do my makeup today and explain who I am. I'm gonna be doing some kind of dramatic, bold look today, something with a lot of color, something Afrocentric that I want to do. I don't really know how this look is going to turn out. Hopefully it turns out well, and if it doesn't, sorry. And if it does, I will leave all of the products in the description down below. Well, I'll leave the products in the description down below anyway. But yeah, let's jump into the video. Okay, so since I am doing more of a bold look today, I'm probably going to go ahead and start with my brows first so that it can kind of frame everything that I'm doing. Makeup was never really in my path. When I was a kid, I was known for singing. I was a singer. That's what I did. I studied classical music for 12 years. That was always the path that I was going to go down. I was just going to be a singer. But after middle school, I went to a performing arts high school in Baltimore, and I thought that it would be a really great way for me to experience school in a different way, because I didn't really love going to school. I didn't like, I hated math. Oh my gosh. Hated math. Loved science, but that was about the only subject I loved besides art. I loved everything artistic, everything having to do with art. And so I went to a performing arts high school and I went for music. But while I was there for 3 years, I got accepted as a sophomore, junior and senior. Okay, yeah. So I got accepted as a sophomore and I was there for 3 years, and it was challenging to say the least, because while I got to do what I loved, I got to be creative and I got to sing, I really had to focus hard as well on the academics, because you still had to graduate from high school, and that was the part that didn't necessarily come easy to me. So while I was there, I tried really hard to get good grades, and it just kind of was not working. Like, there are some people that math and all these other subjects came so easy to, and then for me it just never really seemed to click. So I got kind of burnt out, to be honest, like with singing, and there were long hours. Like, we were involved in shows and recitals and all these other wonderful things that we had to do for school on top of our daily academic, routine. Yeah, I was just kind of done with school. So when I graduated from high school, I was all set up. I had a scholarship, not like a full scholarship, but a partial scholarship to go to a college for voice. And I sat down with my mom and I was just like, Mom, I don't want to go to school. Like, I'm tired of school. I just can't see myself spending another 4 years in college getting a degree. Not to mention how expensive it is to go to college, but I just couldn't see myself actually going down that path. So my mom, who's always been super supportive and sweet, and God, I love her for that, because I know there's a lot of parents that would kind of like push you to go down the whole college route even though it's not for you. My mom and my stepdad and my dad were always super supportive of me doing what I wanted to do. So I remember this conversation so clearly with my mom. She was like, okay, well, you're about to graduate. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you can be creative in? And one of those things was makeup. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like that would be a really cool opportunity for me to go down, because you have to remember, I was already doing my makeup for my recitals and plays and stuff that I had been in as a kid, singing and dancing and all that jazz. So I was already kind of familiar with stage makeup and that sort of thing from a young age. So I was like, yeah, that would be great. Sorry guys, it's hard for me to do my brows and talk at the same time. So after high school, my mom and my stepdad decided that they were gonna move to New Zealand, and I was supposed to go with them. And then kind of at the last minute, I was like, I'm not ready to move there. I don't want to go all the way to New Zealand. I don't know anybody. I don't have any friends there. It's a whole different country. And I just was not ready for that move. I wanted to try and stay here and still continue pursuing music, but also just be somewhere familiar, if that makes sense. So I actually ended up moving down to Atlanta, where my real dad lives, and went there and scoped it out pretty much right after high school. My dad went around with me and we looked for like apartments that I could live not too far from him, but still kind of be on my own. The trip lasted maybe all of a week. I'm to this day, I'm so surprised that like at 19, I went down there, found an apartment, my dad co-signed for me. I didn't even have a job. I was just determined that that's what I was gonna do. So my dad actually knew somebody that worked at a department store. It was called Parisians, which if you are from the DMV area, it would kind of be close to a Macy's, where they have like pretty much everything. It's a department store. So they have like makeup counters inside and clothes and shoe department, the whole thing. So I talked to this guy and he was like, well, actually we have an opening up at Clinique. Would your daughter be interested in doing that? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I was like super excited because to me, this was like a dream job. You know, I didn't want to necessarily be hanging up clothes and dealing with fitting rooms and stuff like that, but I didn't have an education that I could pretty much do anything else. So I was like, yes, Clinique is perfect. So I ended up working at Clinique and I really loved it. Oh gosh. So it took like a couple days to get adjusted, obviously, but then I ended up really kind of thriving at Clinique. So to me at 19, it was just so amazing that I got to work in a place where I could experiment with makeup and skincare and actually get paid for it and put it on people and actually get paid for it. I didn't love the selling aspect of it because you have these like goals that you're supposed to meet. And I am just not a natural born salesperson. I love doing the makeup and I love recommending things that I thought people could actually use, but I couldn't like bring myself to sell them something that I didn't think that they needed. So sometimes that would work for me and I would have people that were just so happy that I was so honest that they would like end up buying stuff just for that reason. And then sometimes you'd have people that just, you know, maybe needed a little bit more talking to buy that extra eye cream or whatever. So that was kind of the only struggle about it. The other thing that I also really liked working for Clinique was they train you. So every year you have a few trainings, and forgive me, I can't remember. I want to say it's like at least 2 big trainings. So maybe like one in the fall and one in the like summer, spring kind of thing. I can't remember exactly. So if any of you have ever worked for Clinique or do work for Clinique, let me know what it is. But they send you out for like a couple days to a hotel and they pay for you to eat and have lunch, and basically it's like an 8-hour long seminar training for a couple days, and they teach you all about their products that, you know, have been discontinued, products that are coming out that are new. Yeah, you just kind of go over everything and the formula and why it works for the skin so that you can explain all this stuff to your customers and just have the knowledge that you really need to, like, you know, sell the stuff. But you also got something called gratis. You got gratis at these seminars, but you also got gratis yearly. And gratis is basically where Clinique or any cosmetic company gives you a certain amount of credit or dollars to spend on their products so that you can actually try it out and experience, you know, how they work. So I just loved that. I just loved like that I got to get free makeup and play around, and it was just kind of amazing. So anyway, I was at Clinique for about almost 2 years. And in that time, I hadn't really done a whole lot with music. Like I had done like open mics here and there throughout Atlanta, but I didn't really do a whole lot with music. So after that, I was like, okay, I've been here for a couple years and I'm not really doing anything that I kind of thought I was gonna be doing. So I was like, I think I wanna join my mom in New Zealand. At that point I was ready. I kind of packed up everything and I moved to New Zealand. And again, I didn't have a job. I just kind of wanted to go out there. So I did. Back in the day, guys, it was kind of like the dream to work for M.A.C. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, M.A.C was everything. Like the girls, the way that they dressed and the fact that they got to wear all black, whatever they wanted, just as long as it was black. And they were so fashion trendy. And for darker skin tones like me, there weren't really a whole lot of makeup companies that were really hitting it like that for darker complexions. MAC was one of those places that I could find foundation, that I could find lip colors, that I could find, you know, pretty much anything that I needed. And the fact that it was fashion forward and trendy, it was always my like #1 place that I wanted to work for back in the day. But in the States, it was super, super hard to get into MAC. They're super selective and a little bougie. They're a little bougie. I don't know if they still are, but back in the day, they were kind of bougie. So I had a hard time getting a job in the States. Well, when I went to New Zealand, my mom was like, there's a MAC here. And we lived in Wellington, so that's just like so random because there's not a whole lot to do in Wellington. If any of you are from New Zealand, you know what I'm talking about. There's like very limited stores. It's a very small town, but there was this place called Kirkcaldy's in Staines, again, another department store. And in this store, they had a MAC counter. And right next to it, they had a Clinique counter. So I tried both places. I had interviews with MAC and I had interviews with Clinique because, you know, I'd already been at Clinique for a couple years in the States. So I was like, well, if MAC doesn't work out, then, you know, I could always fall back on Clinique. And how awkward it was that they were situated right next to each other. So the rival companies that I'm interviewing with literally are side by side. Clinique is right here, MAC is right here, and you could literally walk between the counters. It was, yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, so I ended up getting both job offers. Clinique paid, I think, a little bit more, but I was just so excited to work at MAC that I was just like I'll take the pay cut and I'll work for MAC. I was just so excited to work for MAC and get that like little necklace. You know, remember the MAC necklace that you got when you actually like worked for MAC? I was just so excited about that. So while I was there, to be honest, I was a little bit young and naive and thinking that the beauty industry, how can I say this? All this time I had this idea of what working at MAC would be and like how amazing it would be to like have this artistry at your fingertips, do whatever you want, come to work however you want, just basically as long as you were wearing black and had like a million different MAC products on your face. Those were the only stipulations. But while I was at MAC, I definitely had some issues. Working behind the counter, some of you may know, the beauty industry is not always so beautiful as much as we wish it would be. So I worked with a lot of different personalities and I was kind of finding it hard to fit in, if I'm honest. Like, it's a whole different culture. It's a whole different vibe than what you're used to with being out here. Plus, I'm American. Some New Zealanders are not too keen on Americans, and I'm also black. So, you know, there's that. So it was a little bit difficult. It was more difficult than I thought it would be, fitting in, to be honest, and that was hard on me. I didn't expect that. I thought that MAC was this all-inclusive type of makeup brand, which they are, and I'm not going to take that away from the brand itself, but the counter that I worked at, more specifically, I had a hard time kind of overcoming people being catty. How else can I say it? I had a hard time overcoming people not being so nice, and it was kind of a challenge for me, if I'm honest. So anyway, while I was there, I learned so much when the company also would send us out on these training seminars. I forget what it's called, but they have this whole program where basically MAC schools you on everything. They teach you about face shapes, they teach you about the color wheel and why it's so important for our job. They teach you about skin tones, which I really love. I feel like more places need to focus on all skin tones, not just white skin tones, which unfortunately a lot of places do. So I learned so much, and watching some of these amazing district artists that lived in a whole different part of New Zealand come and like explain their stories was just so amazing to me. And to see how far you could take makeup if you really wanted to. Like these women, and they were women at the top in New Zealand at the like district office. These were fierce ladies, always decked out, always looking beautiful, and had traveled the world and would like go to China on a weekend and do makeup for models that are, you know, pretty much all exposed and covered in nothing but paint. I just, and one of the artists actually that that I'm talking about worked with Cirque du Soleil for like a few months. She was like on tour with them, and she was telling us how great the experience was and how like high energy it was for her to be there and be doing makeup on these performers every night, every day, and it was just kind of like boom, 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 boom. And so in my mind, I'm like, gosh, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to be. I want to be kind of doing makeup for runway in New York. It was like a light bulb went off. I was there for almost a year. And then after a year, I was just kind of so tired with working, honestly, with the toxic energy behind the counter. And I really missed home. Like, I loved New Zealand. I loved the experience that I got while I was there, but I missed home. I missed my family. I missed the weather. In New Zealand, it's kind of colder than people would expect. It's definitely colder than I expected. And I thought, oh, because it's an island, it's gonna be nice and warm, not chilly at all, and I was so wrong. It's actually closer to Antarctica than people think that it is. It's not like super, super cold, and we lived on the North Island, the southernmost tip of the North Island, but it was still pretty chilly. And they kind of don't have a whole lot of centralized heating there because it's considered a mild island. So I was just like always cold. I don't like being cold. And it was like rainy a lot. It just kind of was like, okay, I'm ready to go home. After being there for, yeah, almost a year, I decided I was gonna move back home. Then I moved back home, was living with family for a while, and they were so sweet, all my aunts and, you know, family members that kind of took me in and took me under their wing. I'll always be grateful for that, because my mom and my stepdad and my dad, you know, didn't really live near me in the DMV area. When I came back, I didn't go back to Atlanta. I came back to the DMV, which is where I'm from, and I wanted to start things here. So when I came back, I started working just kind of like random jobs. And then one day I found this ad on Craigslist. You know, this was back when Craigslist was a thing and that's where you found jobs. I found this ad looking for makeup artists to join a bridal team. And I was like, this sounds amazing. And so I met with the person. Her name is Sarah. Shout out to Sarah. If you're watching, I love you. And I worked with Sarah for a long time. Sarah basically took me under her wing. So she owned this company and she did the hair and I did the makeup, and she was just starting out. And so it was a perfect opportunity for me because I, you know, had just come from Clinique, I had just come from M.A.C, and I kind of wanted to branch out and not work behind the counter because, as I already mentioned, I'm not great at selling stuff. Like, that's just kind of not my forte. I wanted to just focus more so on the artistry than actually selling stuff and the pressure of trying to ram products down people's throats. It's just kind of not my thing. This job opportunity allowed me to do that, and it was great. So it was very part-time, so I had like other jobs while I was working for Sarah. Yeah, she taught me everything. So Sarah was really great at business, and she taught me a lot about the business side of makeup, as well as like, you know, dealing with different clients and taking on large parties and stuff like that. So I worked with Sarah for about 7 years, and then Sarah sadly moved away. Oh, actually, let me back up. Oh, I'm so all over the place with this story. Get ready with me. I'm sorry, guys. This is kind of like not what I do. I guess I'm better scripted. I apologize, but you know, I'm trying something new, so bear with me. So I worked with Sarah for a very long time, and she would do the hair, like I said, and I would do the makeup. And there was definitely some weddings where like people would only want makeup, so I would do makeup on my own, and there were definitely weddings where she would do the hair and she would be on her own. So one day I was kind of like, you know, if I ever opened up a salon one day, I would want to know how to fix someone's hair if something went wrong. That was my entire reason for going to cosmetology school. I didn't really have any interest in doing hair. I just didn't want to be that one person that like opened up a salon that didn't know anything about it, because that's not good. And I actually worked for somebody later on, we'll get to that. I worked for somebody who opened up a salon, didn't know anything about the beauty industry, and long story short, the concept ended up failing. He closed it down because he had no idea how to run a beauty business. He had no idea the ins and the outs of it, and I just didn't want to be that person. So I went to cosmetology school, and while I was there, I actually ended up really liking it, which I didn't expect. Mind you, I wasn't really going to learn how to do hair for myself. I was going so that I would know how to do hair if something happened. I discovered that it was actually a whole different way for me to be creative, and it was a whole different business venture that I could still use my artistry and make money. So I spent all of my spare time learning how to do updos and working with bridal styling, and that was kind of my forte. So right after cosmetology school, I started working for Sarah, and now I could do hair. I worked with her for a little bit, and I would do hair, you know, on a couple weddings and kind of got my feet wet. But in the industry, right after cosmetology school, it's kind of unheard of to get a job straight out of school unless you're working for a hair cuttery or you know, a chain salon, because most places want you to apprentice for about 1 to 2 years before actually making it onto the floor of the salon. Because, you know, side note, when you go into cosmetology school, their #1 focus is basically teaching you state board regulations and not so much teaching you the artistry of doing hair. Their job is to get you to pass the state board, and that's their main concern. So I was like, okay, well, here I am. I just spent, you know, however many thousands of dollars getting I spent, you know, however many thousands, you know, the loan to go to cosmetology school. And the last thing that I want to do is to start doing another apprenticeship where I have to basically wait to start making money. And I was like, no, I want to start making money right away with what I graduated in. So I ended up getting a job at Supercuts, and it was great. It was great. The experience that I got from working at Supercuts was really awesome, because when you're doing men's haircuts, and I will say men's haircuts are the hardest, definitely harder than women's, but when you're in school, you don't really get to do a whole lot of men haircuts unless you have people come in that are willing to let you experiment on them. And some people are, but not really a whole lot of people are, and you can't cut up all the mannequins you have. Like when you start school, you have between 5 to 6 mannequin heads, and you can't cut all their heads off because then, I'm sorry, not their heads. You can't cut off all their hair because then you'll have nothing to practice on. So men's haircuts are challenging to learn how to do unless you're going to a school for barbering. You know what I'm saying? Working at Supercuts, and it was honestly kind of one of the best decisions I made for me, because when you work at those places, it's kind of do or die. You have to learn how to get better at men's haircuts. And yes, they have a week training seminar kind of thing as well, but there's only so much that you can watch on a video or practice on a mannequin head. You have to just do it. You know, you had a lot of men clients come in that you could actually do that, practice on. Let me finish this eye off camera because it's kind of difficult for me to do that on camera, and then I'll be right back. Sorry guys, that was a little challenging for me to try and get the eye shape correct while speaking. So now we can continue. I also got to work on some female clients as well, which was pretty cool. So you did get to do your colors and your cuts and highlights and all that stuff. I clearly can't do 2 things at once. Clearly. So yes, I got to learn all that stuff, and they too sent you to school for a week of training, and that's how I got my start in the cosmetology world. Okay, so I was working for Supercuts for a while, and then of course my part-time gig on the weekends was working for Sarah, and I would still do my weddings. So eventually Sarah came to me and she was like, okay, so me and my family have decided to move back to where we're from, because it was only her and her husband down here and her sister. The rest of her family lived in another state. So eventually they got the opportunity to head back there, and they wanted to take it. So Sarah, of course, being the super sweet person that she is, and we still keep in contact to this day, she's lovely. She came to me and she was like, hey, do you want to start your own makeup and hair company at this point, or do you want to join another bridal team? Now this was something I'd kind of run away from for years, because I like the makeup artistry aspect of things, and business stuff is kind of, like I said, it's not my forte. So we had like a perfect partnership, and I was worried about starting my own business and if I could do it. So yeah, all these other times that I thought about opening up my own business, I was just like, no, this is not for me. Like, I like being behind the scenes, not worrying about emails and talking to clients and doing paperwork and all that stuff. I just couldn't see myself in that position. Can I see myself working for anybody else though? And honestly, I couldn't. I had spent so much time with Sarah and we had such a great working relationship. She trusted me to be her makeup artist and be her ride or die, basically. At least that's what I felt like I was. Maybe that's just me getting a little ahead of myself. But I felt like we had just such this really great working relationship, and I really couldn't see myself working with anybody else, because most bosses that I'd had up until Sarah working behind any other counter, they were a little crazy, a little bit like too in your face, a little bit too like everything had to be perfect, and her style was just not like that at all. She let you be yourself, she let you be your artist, always backed you up 100%. Like, she was just a really great mentor to have. So at that point I really couldn't see myself working for anyone but her. So I was like, I guess that means I have to start my own business. And I will say that I really do feel like things happen for a reason, because if she hadn't moved away, I don't think I ever would have started my own business, or maybe it would have taken me a very long time to make that leap and feel like I was ready to start my own business. But her leaving kind of pushed me to do it and to step out of my comfort zone and to do something different. So she did. She helped me. She told me kind of what helped her get started, what kind of rules of thumb or what kind of rules she followed for her business, and I took that and I ran with it, and I opened up my own company, I guess about 6 years ago now, and it's been great. It's been so rewarding. It's been an amazing journey. I know that, you know, 6 years to own a business is not really that much time, but for me, it's been incredible. Sorry, y'all. My eyes are done. It is super hard for me to clearly do my eyes and talk at the same time, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my face, and hopefully that will go a little bit more smoother. So yes, I'm a firm believer that things happen at the right time when they're meant to happen for you. So at that point, I was still working for another company, still in a barber shop, but a different company. And I really liked working for them too, but I had started to get pretty busy with my schedule, and I left and started focusing full-time on my own business, and then eventually things just kind of really took off as far as like weddings, and like some of my clients from the barbershop actually did follow me, and you know who you are. I've had them for years and I love them. And they've supported me through pretty much everything. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started. So I was getting really busy with my own clients and weddings and stuff like that, and I eventually was like, I kind of want my own spot. So that's where I am now. I have a studio suite, and I'm very fortunate to have it inside of my house, and I see my regular haircut and color clients here and all other salon services here, and then I do a lot of weddings and a lot of photo shoots with photographers, and that's the journey of how I got here. Very blessed, feel very, very grateful to have had so much support from my family, because like I said, you know, this was a very uncharted journey. It was very unpredictable for me to kind of like go into makeup, but I ended up really loving it, and yeah, my family supported me throughout the entire thing, so I love them for that, and can't be more grateful. Okay, if there's anything else you guys have questions about as far as like the makeup industry or the hair industry, or like, you know, things that I found challenging or things that I really love about the industry, let me know if you have any comments or would like to see a video like that in the future. I'd love to like make content that you guys want to see, so yeah, let me know if there's anything that you guys want to know hair and makeup beauty related that I can make a video on. Okay, let me put the music on and I'm gonna let you see me finish my face.
He got me high above, like the sun by the moon, he's a star, baby, I'm lighting up. Like a fool, it's true, it's true. He's making me blow my mind and I can't stand the thought of being without us. I'm being honest, y'all.
Thank you so much for watching my channel. Thank you so much for watching my journey. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, can you please go ahead and give me a big thumbs up? If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I upload videos weekly and I'd love to see you guys next week.
Do what we do,